Yo, what is up, guys? Del Boy here. Just a quick roundup from last night's boxing. We'll be talking about the three fights that went down last night, and we'll start with Demetrius Andrade versus Luke Keeler. Obviously, Demetrius Andrade was defending his WBO middleweight title, and as predicted, it was a routine defence for Demetrius Andrade. Nobody going into this fight gave Luke Keeler a shot, and that transpired in the fight. Andrade dominated this fight from start to finish. Luke Keeler really had no success to talk about. He did try hard and he showed some really good heart, but ultimately he just wasn't good enough. And yeah, Andrade won this fight decisively. He won the fight by a ninth round stoppage, but in truth, he should have really had Luke Keeler out of there a lot earlier. He dropped Luke Keeler twice early on in the fight, once in the first round and another time in the second round, and one of those knockdowns was very heavy. I thought the fight would be over in the second round, I believe it was, but somehow Luke Keeler got through it and Demetrius Andrade couldn't finish him. After the second round, Andrade wasn't quite as explosive. He was boxing a bit more, catching Keeler with some nice hard shots, and he was slowly breaking him down en route to a ninth round stoppage. Decent performance from Demetrius Andrade, but I've said this a few times now, Andrade really isn't a good finisher when he's got a guy hurt. You know, he gets really wild and inaccurate, he'll slap and cuff with his punches, and he looks messy when he's trying to finish a guy. You know, his finishing skills really aren't great, to be honest with you, and that is certainly something he needs to work on going forwards. You know, like I said, this was a routine title defence. He was never really going to struggle with this guy. Now he's got this out of the way, I want something big from Demetrius Andrade. You know, we've heard a lot about Jamal Charlo turning down a unification fight with Demetrius Andrade, and that sucks. However, we must not lose sight of the fact that on the zone, Andrade has opponents. You know, in and around middleweight, you've got Golovkin, Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders, Danny Jacobs, Callum Smith. All of these guys fight on the zone, so he needs to be matched with somebody half decent. He needs to be matched with somebody good, and ideally one of the guys I mentioned. You know, Demetrius Andrade is talking about Billy Joe Saunders. He'll even move up in weight to get that fight. That fight sounds perfect to me. I love that fight. I really wanted to see it first time around. I'm intrigued by it. I would love to see that fight next. But Andrade, solid performance, but he really needs to step up. He really does. But anyway, on to the next fight. This was Tevin Farmer versus Jojo Diaz. This was for the IBF Super Featherweight title, and the belt changed hands. I was expecting a really competitive fight coming into it. I actually picked Tevin Farmer by a close decision, maybe even controversial, but I got this one wrong. I've got to say Jojo Diaz fought a hell of a fight. He applied a lot of pressure on Tevin Farmer. He beat him up on the inside and he decisively won this fight. The scorecards were close, but I don't know what the judges were seeing. You know, for me, Jojo Diaz won this fight quite clearly. First couple of rounds were close. I felt Tevin Farmer maybe edged the first round. The second round was pretty close also. In round 2, Jojo Diaz actually suffered a really bad cut, and this cut was quite, grotesque, but his cut man done a really good job with it, and that cut never deterred Jojo Diaz once in this fight. You know, he showed good resolve, good heart to get through it, and after the second round, I felt Jojo Diaz really started to take over. Tevin Farmer was sitting in the pocket, and he couldn't really defend himself that effectively. He was getting caught with big shots over the top of that shoulder roll. He was getting caught to the body. And basically he was just getting worked on the inside by Jojo Diaz. And also on top of that, it wasn't just the fact that Jojo Diaz was outlanding Tevin Farmer. He was also landing the better, more eye-catching, damaging punches. And yeah, Tevin Farmer could never really fight Jojo Diaz off on the inside. You know, Tevin Farmer had success, don't get me wrong, he landed some good punches, but there wasn't the same purchase on his punches, and yeah, he never really deterred Jojo Diaz. There were a couple of rounds in the mid-rounds that were close, I think round 6 and round 7. But yeah, Jojo Diaz really was in charge of this fight from basically the 3rd round onwards. And yeah, he was the clear winner. It was still a good fight, quite competitive in stages. But yeah, Jojo Diaz was the clear winner. Congratulations to him on becoming the new IBF featherweight champion. And last, but certainly not least, we had a hell of a fight between Danny Roman and Mirjan Akhmadaliev. This fight took place at super bantamweight, and it was for Danny Roman's IBF and WBA super bantamweight titles, and the titles changed hands. Akhmadaliev is now the new IBF and WBA super bantamweight champion. He hails from Uzbekistan. He comes out of that great amateur system, and this is the first of that generation to go on and have success in the pro ranks. You know, winning this type of fight in your 8th fight, becoming a unified champion against a good guy in Danny Roman is a very good achievement. The fight itself I felt was excellent. It's what I was expecting. I've been bigging this fight up for months, as has Unrivaled Boxing Talk and News. And yeah, I felt this fight certainly delivered. And I've got to say, I felt it was super close. Like, I could have seen a draw. I could have seen this fight scored a point either way. Hell of a close fight. If you had Danny Roman winning by a point, no complaints. If you had a draw, no complaints. Akhmadaliev by 1 point, no complaints. It was that type of fight. In my opinion, Akhmadaliev landed the better, more eye-catching punches. But on the flip side, you could argue Danny Roman was more busy, and Akhmadaliev in certain rounds had periods of inactivity. So I felt it was a super close fight, but I think Akhmadaliev just about edged it. But it's one of those fights I'll certainly watch again and, you know, score it round by round. I didn't really score it round by round. I just enjoyed the fight. But yeah, hell of a fight. I felt Akhmadaliev started quite well and Danny Roman finished well. I think in the back end of this fight, you saw Akhmadaliev's lack of experience in the pro ranks. You know, he's never fought a 12-rounder against a world champion like Danny Roman. And yeah, to do that in your 8th fight, you know, inexperience may show. And I think it did in this fight. But now he's got this fight under his belt. Now he's gone the rounds. I expect this guy to go further and further. And I expect this guy to develop into a really good fighter. Maybe in a rematch you could see Akhmadaliev win the fight more decisively, because I think he's got more room for improvement in comparison to Danny Roman. I think Danny Roman has maybe hit his ceiling as a fighter. I don't really see him getting any better. Whereas Akhmadaliev, in my opinion, is only going to go from strength to strength. I mean, he's only, 25 years old with 8 fights, so he's only going to get better. I'm not sure Danny Roman is. So in a rematch, I would say Akhmadaliev, you know, now he's got this experience, would win more decisively. Nevertheless, I would like to see Akhmadaliev use his jab a bit more, not try to rely on leading with power shots and blasting his man out of there, because he was guilty of that in this fight. I think he was going for the knockout early on, looking for big shots, and maybe that was why he was depleted in the second half of the fight. But, you know, that's what you learn through experience and, you know, going through these hard fights. And like I say, he's only going to get better from here. So overall, I've got to say, I actually really enjoyed this card. You had 2 really competitive fights, plus you had Andrade in a showcase. Not really going to talk about the YouTube fight, that was what it was. Not really interested in that. And also, just for the record, Anthony Sims Jr. lost on the undercard to Roma Angulo. So that was a bit of an upset as well. You know, Anthony Sims Jr., a bit of a hot prospect. A lot of people are expecting big things from him. But yeah, he lost his first step-up fight to Angulo. Angulo, you know, he's not a household name, but he is a tough guy who's heavy-handed. You know, he actually went the distance with Gilberto Ramirez in a world title attempt. So Roma Angulo's a decent fighter, and he picked up the biggest win of his career against Anthony Sims Jr. So we'll see where Anthony Sims Jr. goes from there. Can he rebuild? And we'll see where Roma Angulo goes also. But yeah, good solid card. Credit to DAZN and Eddie Hearn for putting it on. Best card of the year so far. I know it's super early, but yeah, really good card. I enjoyed it. Share your thoughts below. What did you make of it? What was your favourite fight? Did anything surprise you? Peace.